they approach and they are very creepy. They try and throw parties and they're really creepy.
If I have abundance with women and a girl who's beautiful comes up to me, I'm like, hey, what's going on? If I have no abundance with women and a beautiful woman comes up to me, I'm like, hey, look down at the boobies, look up, eyes are a little bit bigger, palms sweat, vocal tonality goes up half an octave.
You as a person are not getting rejected. It's just your approach or the way you were behaving, which is what's your first impression is to the girl, and she's just rejecting that if she's not interested in talking to you.
Alrighty, we are back with a second debate. We got Michael Sartain in one corner and Hamza in the other corner. Both were from the original debate, of course, but we're going one on one, but with one or two clients on the call as well to back up what's going on in the debate. So let's get started. I would say if you could state your position, and since this is effectively a sequel, if there's anything from the last debate that wasn't covered, if you could just name what you would like to cover on this particular debate. Start, Michael.
Yeah. So first off, we've done a bunch of these. I've done them with Alex and I've done them with you and I've done them several different places. I mean, I think at some point we can come to some kind of compromise. I think you should use cold approach in order to build a social circle. I think that's fine. I totally understand that concept. I've never had an issue with it. My issue was the excessive directness that happens initially with when you, and this is, for me being around guys who are really good with women, I noticed that they don't go direct very early on. And because of that, that's something that I experimented with. And when you do so, what happens is if I don't show intent in the beginning, and she has to work for it by compliance and being nice to me and all these other things, then my intent is now valuable. Whereas if I just give her intent when I first see her because she has big boobies, my intent is cheap. So that's one of the reasons why I don't give intent initially until a woman earns it. And so that's why I don't, in general, co-sign on traditional cold approach pickup. Now, I know, Luke and Hamza both, or not Luke, Marcus and Hamza have said that they teach something that's different. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt with that. But that's the first reason. The second reason, the problem that I've had with cold approach pickup just in general as a monolith is the concept of they were behind the times when it came to social media. They're behind the times when it came to making female teammates, women introducing other women, and they're behind the times when it came to logistics. So those were my criticisms of it. But like cold approach in general is not the issue. It is just the general pickup culture that happened previously with, and I'm not putting these guys in this concept, but it was the idea of I need to neg a girl to get an emotional response, and therefore that's going to get me the win. No, that looks good on YouTube, but I don't think that works long term. Social circle, all of us agreed that it was really effective. Even Marcus did. They all said it was really terrific. But the issue was that they thought it wouldn't work for newbies. And then I had 3 or 4 newbies that used to be newbies come on the call and then describe their experience, describe the success that they had. And then the criticism was, those guys don't sound like newbies. And then my response is, yes, they don't sound like newbies because they're in my program. They're not newbies anymore. It's like saying a virgin who doesn't get laid. Once he gets laid, or I'm sorry, it's like saying a virgin who fucks. Once he fucks, he's not a virgin anymore. That's what happens. You're a virgin and then you fuck and then you're not a virgin anymore. So you join the program and then now you're experienced and now you're not a newbie anymore. This logic seemed to escape some people. But yeah, so that's essentially my point. I'm actually, the things I want to cover, Hamza, when we ended the last discussion, talked about some of the work he was doing for women. I'm very interested in hearing more about that. I'm actually because I'm more interested in like a holistic approach when it comes to all of these concepts rather than just like techniques in order to get better and have threesomes. And so I'm actually interested in talking to Hamza about some of those concepts.
Nice. Hamza.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we definitely agree on a lot of topics, like where cold approach is good for building up a social circle for sure. For the most part, I do agree that the whole pickup culture is very toxic as well. Like the overt directness to the point where sometimes it can kind of seem like the people have mental health issues that are doing that, just complete uncalibration, have no social awareness. That is something that I totally don't agree with when it comes to like walking up to women and talking to them. One of the things that I do have an issue with Michael's the way he teaches social circle is it's like to avoid rejection, which is one thing that I really like about cold approach, where it's like you learn how to handle rejection and become a more grounded, confident man. And it allows you to be successful in other parts of life as well, because life is full of rejection. The path to success is littered with failure. So I think that the cold approach method of going through rejection, handling it, becoming a better person, becoming a better man is very essential for becoming the best version of yourself.
Ready. I'm gonna switch to speaker mode, and the rest of you guys who are here, feel free to put your video cameras on, and we can really jump into this. So, is there any place you guys want to start off with?
Yeah, I mean,
Go
we
ahead.
can start off with like with the rejection thing. I guess we could just get straight into it because
Sure.
that's where we kind of left off from last time.
Yeah.
So,
So you do face rejection. The thing is, though, you do also have an offer. So meaning like, with the, I guess the thing what I'm trying to say here is when you're looking at it from a standpoint, and this is a valid point. It's like if you just keep having a reason to go up and talk to women, then it's not you getting rejected, it's your reason that's getting rejected, and that's accurate. Like I totally understand where you're coming from when that comes from. From my standpoint, what I'm looking at, Hamza, is I'm not looking from the bottom up. I always look from the top down. So I'm like, who are the guys who are the most successful? And they're the ones that have the most access. So when I think about cold approach and doing rejection, and then I compare it to what I see Machine Gun Kelly, Dan Bilzerian, and Hugh Hefner doing, they're not doing cold approach. They're having outrageously popular events, and then large numbers of people are coming to those events. And so they have an apparatus to invite those people. In our case, I teach the apparatus. I teach the techniques to invite massive groups of people to events. And so you go to an event and there's 7 girls to every guy. It doesn't make things easier. It does, but I don't think it's a disadvantage to say, here's a technique on having consistent events where there's 2 girls to every guy or 5 girls to every guy. Because that's my life, and I actually prefer that. Now, here's the thing. As far as the other part with the rejection goes, what my issue is that when you go do cold approach, not you specifically, Hamza, but what I've seen before is that guys will go up and do cold approach, and instead of like eating the rejection, like actually taking in the rejection as constructive criticism, what they'll do instead is they'll reframe the rejection to the point to where they're not capable of receiving rejection or any criticism at all. And then you get the don't shower for 60 days, lay down in the middle of the problem with the lay down in the middle of the mall or lay down in the middle of the street is that while it does teach you a good part about don't worry about what other people think, there's a bad part in that you should to some extent care about what other people think, because Homo sapiens are a social animal. If I'm walking around, there's blood coming off of my head because I have a head wound, people are going to look at me differently. That should be a sign. Wait a second, maybe I'm hurt. Right? If people are telling me that my breath smells bad, there's indicators that you get from society that are good indicators that you need to take in and be calibrated towards. And so my issue was where I think a lot of times with cold approach, they're not necessarily learning how to deal with rejection as they're learning how to deny rejection. And I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. Like you guys all have what look like relevant haircuts because you looked at other guys that had success that probably had haircuts that were different than you. And then you copied those haircuts. Same thing with your facial hair, same thing with your tonality, same thing with the way you dress. Those things happen because you looked at social cues from other people. And so I'm more interested in them getting better at reading social cues and getting better at climbing up the social hierarchy than I am necessarily with them being able to deal with a girl who's really mean to them and says mean things. And then how are they able to deal with it? What I tell my guys is this: you can, when you receive rejection, receive it, take it as honest feedback, but don't have an emotional reaction to it. Just receive it dispassionately. If you can do that, you'll be fine.
Okay. So what does rejection look like to you when you're in the social circle environment and then you're bringing the group of girls back home and whatnot? What does that look like to an average student that you would have?
Luke, are you there? I'll let Luke answer.
Yeah,
Hey, Luke, what's going on? So the thing he was saying was when you just do social circle, you kind of like inoculate yourself from rejection. But like you do a lot of social circle, you deal with rejection. What would rejection look like for you? You bring a group of girls back to your place. That's what he's asking. Luke is one of my clients, guys, for those of you who don't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So I guess rejection would just be like, so the way I open people is that I take a lot of videos. Like I have a ring light on my phone, and the way I normally open women is, hey, I'm a videographer, I do this, and then I get on my Instagram, they see value, and then they see my stories every single day repetitively. And then, all right, let me see if I can landscape this shit.
Yeah, let's do landscape it. That'd be better.
All right. So, and then they get on my Instagram, and then they see consistent value every single day, and then their exposure builds up as I'm a high value guy. For me, Rejection is simply just a girl saying, I don't want to be in your video. And then they see two other girls do the same shit in my video. They see the reaction, and then they normally come up to me afterwards. So like rejection, dude, is just, I guess back at the house, what would rejection be? Rejection would be me saying, hey, you want to come check out my room? And a girl saying, hey, I'm going to stay here. That's not me going in for a kiss. That's not me trying to grab her tit or do some weird shit. That's me saying, hey, do you want to come check this out? Go further on the compliance loop, and then her saying, no, I'm good here. And then I try it again, maybe in 5 minutes. That's all it is. And am I getting shunned in my social circle for that? No. He's just not coming to the room with me. And then I come back, I put on Netflix or whatever, and then I try again in 10 minutes.
Yeah, one of the distinction is in social circle, because there's so many other people there that you can use to show you high status or social proof. What happens often is Luke, we had Leonard DeBeer. He came and he went to he was talking to me. He went Wednesday night. He had a comp over at Encore Beach Club. He goes there and he meets this girl and he's talking to her, and the girl is not feeling him at all. She's shit testing him. She's been super fucking rude to him the whole time, but she's part of his group. So she walks in with them. And then when she walks into Encore Beach Club, they go to the comp and there's all these other girls that are like, hey, Leonard, thank you for setting this up, Leonard, blah, blah, blah. And by the end of the night, the same girl who was rejecting him is now trying to take him home. She's like, man, you're so fucking hot, because of the concept of mate choice copying and the concept of sexy sons hypothesis. Once he was able to use his social circle environment in order to generate attraction, he was able to take a girl who had rejected him previously and able to turn that into a win for him because of his environment. That's one of the advantages you have using social proof in a social circle situation.
Yeah, that happens all the time. I'll have a girl that says, hey, do you want to come here? And she just leaves me on red. I'll post 2 stories of me at the event with 4 other girls. She'll DM me in like an hour saying like, oh, I'm trying to get in, where you at? And then she'll show up to my thing that she just left me on red beforehand. And then I'll end up going home with her in like 2 hours. Like
yeah,
that's very common.
When you get good at this and you consistently like post that you're at high status events, the flake rate from women just drops almost to 0. That's another really big advantage.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've experienced that too with social circle, because I like doing both as well. And I use cold approach as a way to get leads for social circle, or just pick up like straight from the bar, or like a date or something, right? But
Hamza, you've had success with women. So if a woman rejects you, deep down it's like this, she's not rejecting me. I'm actually still a high status man, or I know that I'm a competent man, so I'm not worried about her rejection, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I teach clients too, is like, you're not getting, you as a person are not getting rejected. It's just your approach or the way you were behaving, which is what's your first impression is to the girl. And she's just rejecting that if she's not interested in talking to you. But I definitely don't teach a super like throwing shit at a wall type of directness that a lot of these pickup artists or cold approachers do. I like a more indirect style, because I think directness is good. If you have anxiety, you're afraid to talk to girls, you can get over that by just showing your intent and showing all your cards, and then she either accepts or rejects you, right? But we're not rejection junkies where it's like we want to go get rejected, right? We want the result. So indirect has proven to be way better results wise. But Chris actually is one of my students, and Sam went through the program as well, and he became a coach of his own on his own right. But Chris, do you want to talk about your story, how like you were before and after coaching and whatnot, and going through the process?
Absolutely, happily. So I used to have massive social anxiety, and then I started to do the cold approaching. I started doing the kind of more direct method, and I got success, but not great success. And then I went back and actually was building a software application for 3 years. And then after that, I started doing it again, direct approach, whatever. And then I worked with Hamza. And with Hamza, I learned much more I kind of got out of my logical brain rather, and I went down all into the subcomps, which is what I think cold approach does a really good job of, really honing out your subcomps. And I'm still going up to the girls, I'm still talking to them, but now I'm much more calm in my presence. My eye contact is much better. My little mannerisms and little facial expressions are oriented towards a very highly, what's the term I'm looking for? like a high value masculine man, and I'm generating attraction kind of on the subcom level while just communicating. And I think what cold approach does, it really lets you hone in and get your brain and your neurochemistry really focused on being able just to flirt in the subcom level. And that is fantastic during the cold approach. That's fantastic during the social circle. I mean, essentially what that allows me to do is, and I've done it many a time, is I'll go out to a bar or club by myself, start meeting every single person, get them all laughing, having a great time, merge groups. Next thing you know, I've just built a social circle for that night, and then I can build it from that way. And Hamza really taught me the indirect way is not like a trick or tactic. It's rather getting your brain in the way that you can express yourself naturally and getting out of your own way. It's something we naturally do. It's just that we are kind of clamping it down with our overthinking mind.
Sam, you want to introduce yourself too?
Yeah, sure. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on here. Appreciate Hamza and everybody who made this happen. But yeah, my name is Sam. I'm currently living in Colombia. I got on with Hamza's program, I think it's like 4 years ago at this point. It was quite a while ago, but when I got with Hamza, I was pretty good in game and, I was doing my thing, but I think the biggest thing at that time was I had problems, I guess, getting tens, or at least like talking to them like confidently and whatnot. And Hamza really just showed me like how to do it in a way that was very congruent, was very effortless, how to meet them more often. And I would say Hamza's program is more involved on the cold approach side and being more man to woman with females and meeting them organically, right? But I think what he said earlier with the whole incorporating social circle to expand your options, I'm the same philosophy as well. Like I've had many social circles throughout my life, whether it was when I was growing up in Spain, in South Florida, here in Colombia, hosting events. Actually with Miguel, we actually did some stuff last summer, and that's how I met him originally. But yeah, so I think it's a really good process. I think my belief is that you should.
Wait, my Miguel? My Miguel?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I was confused. I don't think the audience knows. Miguel Colon is my CFO. Okay, yeah, I didn't. He's my partner, my business partner.
Yeah. I met him last summer here in Medellin, and super cool guy. We were just like talking to some girls downtown, and we did like a little VIP event one night. I brought some girls. We went out, did some cold approach to meet them as well, and turned to a really good night. But yeah, so that's my philosophy. I think it's like really good to cast a wide net, right? And I think by casting a wide net, you really maximize your options in meeting women in every single really scenario in life, whether it's by doing cold approach, day gaming, whether you're just grabbing your groceries or you're at the gym and you want to talk to a cute girl or whatever, right? Whether it's at night or whether it's at a restaurant that or that you go to often, whatever it is, I think, or even online dating or with social circle, I think it's so important to really just have that wide net to where you can maximize your options and really just meet women in every single scenario. And if you level up your skill set in the cold approach aspect, how to be more confident, how to be more grounded, how to overcome objections, how to not let rejections bother you so you can stay in the game longer, how to become social, how to host these events, I think it really just makes you in that 1% of guys that people ultimately want to be at the end of the day.
Definitely. So, Sam, you're out in Colombia. You've been doing social circle and cold approach, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what kind of results are you getting out there?
I mean, it's been pretty crazy, man. Like, I would say my results, so I've been here for 2 years now. I would say for the first year before I really dialed in the social circle stuff, I was getting a lot of results from online. But once I started to develop a friend circle, started hosting events, penthouse parties, VIP, things at the club, getting to know the owners there, things really just spiraled out of control. And last year we hosted the biggest Halloween party in Medellin. We had a total of 200 people at this party. The ratio was, I don't know, like 3 to 1, 3 girls to 1 guy, 4 to 1. It was just insane. I mean, we had at one point, I think it was 150 girls and there was like 40 guys there. But yeah, so just from learning the skills on how to really host these events how to find quality girls, how to vet them, how to invite them properly, how to get them to show
What
up.
was like the main method through which you brought those girls to the party?
As I said before, man, casting a wide net, right? So cold approaching girls, Tinder, Bumble, Instagram, whatever it is, friends of friends. You just get them into a big list, right? And then you just have them confirm. And really just by doing that, over the span of a week, more or less, we were able to just fill up the house, had an amazing freaking party. We had a DJ, photographer, drinks, chefs. I mean, you name it, the whole shebang. Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
it was awesome, honestly. It was a really good event. And I've hosted many events like this here in Colombia, even back home in the States as well. And really, it's not that hard to do when you understand how to do it, what the skills are that get you to that point. And I think it really is. I think it's very efficient on your time because you don't have to just focus only on the cold approach thing where you're going out every single day, every single weekend and doing mass approaches like a lunatic, right? But again, I think it's important to incorporate all these things because if you focus all on one thing, it's like, okay, you might be really good in that scenario at the house parties, at the VIP table. But if you're, grabbing your fucking groceries for the night and you're at the store and you see a 10 out of 10 girl and you get anxious because you're not in those environments, it's going to fuck you up. But I think it's important to have the skill set really just across the board.
But in that scenario, if you're in a party environment where you're around 9 other girls like that, that's not going to turn into anxiety when you're at the store. Like what Michael teaches is you being around those women from the get-go by building that social circle so that you're used to that exposure to them. So like being around 9 of them all the time, I have no problem saying, hey dude, like you checking out the apples over there or some shit, just opening some girls added to my list if I see you at the grocery store. There's never any like rejection or like nervousness because you've built it up from immersion to a social circle. So that's kind of my point there.
So I think if you've developed this skill set and you have numbed yourself by being around attractive women all day long in those environments, I think it can translate to other aspects of life. But I know a lot of guys who have situational confidence where they feel like they're the fucking man at the house party, at the penthouse, at the table. But, you see them on a Tuesday, after their gym session and they're nervous around those 10s. They see them at the store and they don't approach. Why? It's because it's a completely different environment. Maybe they're not used to being numb to hot women in that environment, right? Maybe
That's interesting.
Yeah, because you have to think about
No, I'm just curious because Tristan and Luke, they've been doing it a lot like not quite as long as me. Do you guys feel nervous? Like again, Tristan, you'll do the bikini competition and there'll be 50, 60 girls there. Do you feel nervous afterwards? Luke, do you guys like in the club you feel competent and outside of the club you guys feel nervous talking to the girls?
I don't personally feel that experience. Like if I've already been around like 50 or 60 of the hottest girls I've ever seen, when I see one girl like that at like the grocery store, let's take that example, I don't feel like less confident because I know that other women like that have given me that attraction, they've given me that pre-selection, they've given me those sort of things before. I don't personally feel that, no.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
going
easier.
off what Tristan said, like, dude,
it's harder to talk to like 50 girls in a club when all this loud music's playing, all that's blasting, and you have to speak over the music. It's harder to do that than do a cold approach, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. Like these are the events that we throw, like kind of typically. And so like I don't see how you're gonna get nervous talking to any woman if you get used to doing stuff like this. And this is a different party right here. Like this is every week for us. So I think immersion, being around stuff like this, you like what he said, he made a good point. He said about being numb to it. This is what happens after a while. I just think there are more girls that are more hot and you just get more numb to it. And it just becomes significantly easier for you when this is your weekly existence. So while I do understand,
I feel like if anything, your standard gets raised, and then the girl that you thought was maybe a 10 that you saw in the grocery store to you is like now a 6. I feel like it also works that way too. Yeah, that's been my experience.
So Tristan and Luke, when you guys are talking to a girl one-on-one, not in a party setting, maybe like the grocery store or somewhere else, what does that conversation usually look like?
Well,
You want to go first or me?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay, cool. All right, can you repeat the question again, just so I answer it thoroughly?
Yeah, whenever you're just in a non like social circle environment and you're one-on-one with a girl who you've never met before, what does that interaction usually look like?
I mean, the interaction is always really the same. It's always getting the girl to talk about herself. So obviously you want to break some rapport, build some level of attraction, but also get the girl to invest and talk about herself and just build that commonality. The path that we're going down is through that cold approach is to build that rapport, build that comfort with her, and then usually to connect with her on Instagram or some sort of social media, so that you could integrate her into whatever social circle events that you're doing, because the social media will sell you without you having to sell yourself. So that's usually the process that I'm going through to do that. That's my guideline.
Yeah, for me,
Okay.
Michael teaches to have events to invite girls to. So say I'm at the grocery store and I see a girl picking out like some like healthy food. I'm like, oh, cool. Hey, dude, like, what do you plan on making with that? Or some observational opener. She'll start talking about what she's doing. Oh, cool. So you're in health and all that. What gym do you go to? She'll start talking about herself, the gym she goes to. Oh, great. We're doing this event like Wednesday. We're having a table event. Or hey, we're doing this photo shoot. Or hey, my friend and I, we're talking about health on our podcast. Do you want to come on? Perfect. All right, great. Do you have Instagram? Cool. Look me up. And then I'll take her phone and follow myself. And then I'll just invite her to an event. And then at that event, I'll have 8 to 9 of my other female friends giving me pre-selection while I'm at the event. And then the rest kind of works for itself, bro. It's just having a great offer to invite girls to that the girls feel stupid saying no to. So there's zero social anxiety in presenting that offer. Most guys, when they go up, the value is dumb. It's not the offer that they can give the girl. So if you're not covering yourself, you may be a little bit fat, maybe you have like a big nose. That's gonna trigger your self imagery and be like, oh shoot, she's gonna see my nose.
Yeah.
I'm so
Well,
nervous.
hold on. But what Hamza said was
Yeah.
before, Luke, was the concept that if you're doing that and then you're using that environment, here I am arguing against myself. You're using that as excuse to avoid rejection. Is that like, have you completely avoided rejection, or are there other rejections that you experience in the whole, concept of your social circle? My point is, Hamza's correct. In my approach, I never get rejected because I'm
Right.
inviting
Well,
girls to go to
we
fucking the
tend to
Maxim
not
party,
because the
but I
offer's
get
so good.
rejected all the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
because
ahead.
the offer's so good, we just tend to not get rejected, dude. That's the point of building your social media up so it's really good. So you have amazing events to invite people too. And that's what Michael teaches. And that's why it's so good. And that's why it works.
Okay.
What's your method,
yeah,
Hamza?
what I'm just
So in
trying to
this
understand
scenario,
is like,
we meet a
do
girl in the
you,
grocery
like,
store.
Guys,
talk to her
hey guys, you're
5
interrupting each other.
do you need
Yeah, so-
an event to like invite a girl to in order to get a girl to go out with you, or can you do it without
No,
the
but you
event?
do need a good social media.
No, we have a social
I'll
life.
say that.
Yeah, we have a good social life
Okay.
where we're always doing something. So, like in our scenario, we talk to a girl for 5 minutes, invite her to an event with a bunch of other girls, and then we go about our life. I guess when you approach a girl in the grocery store, what does that look like for you? It's kind of your process.
I mean, it's pretty much the same where I go through my like framework of having a conversation and whatnot, just so I know how to lead the conversation like you guys. And then my value proposition isn't necessarily a party, but it's usually me. And then the party could be like secondary or whatever date we want to go on, or maybe even just like we're in a grocery store and we're both hungry, so then we go get some food together or something like that. And then
Cool.
from there, maybe we could go to my place, or we could just meet up some other time. It's the
I got you.
same kind of idea.
Just out of
for
curiosity,
most
do
of
you
the
think that
students.
like works as efficiently with like the 10 out of 10s?
Yeah, it does. It depends on your behavior. Obviously, I agree with you guys. Like we're pretty much on the same page. If you have a good social circle, if you have a good Instagram, it's going to be amazing for as far as the value proposition goes. But I don't like using it as a crutch specifically, because like, what if I'm traveling? I just got back from a 4-month trip in Europe where I was going to different cities and whatnot. Maybe I'm in Milan
Social
for
media.
Fashion Week. I'm in Milan for Fashion Week. I can't really just like invite the girl to a party, right? Because I'm
You invite
not.
her
But
to
you
an
can
event.
use social
Like, if-
media to connect with
Yeah.
other people in Milan. You're not going to cold approach girls in Fashion
Oh
Week
yeah, I use
or the
I
hottest
use-
models there. They're all going to be in like some exclusive place, like if it's Fashion Week, right? They're going to be in some exclusive fashion.
Oh, you
They're
can
going to be at
definitely
some
cold
certain
approach
table.
during Fashion Week, bro. You,
Absolutely.
like, you don't have
the
to
idea
wait
that
around for
the idea that
parties.
you can't go to a different place and build a social circle if you have a social media, like you can absolutely carry your social circle because you can carry status.
Yeah, Hamza, what he's saying is that, like, so for instance, you know how a woman, when like if a really hot woman lives in San Diego and she goes to Miami and she walks up to Mr. Jones, or she walks up to Liv, she'll get in because her hotness travels with her, meaning her inherent value comes with her. For men, it doesn't work like that unless you have like an AP watch or you pull up in a Lambo or you're really fucking good looking. She still has to interact with you and see that you're confident, have a deep voice, or you're funny, or you have social alignments. It takes her at least a second. Whereas for men, we see their value initially. The thing about when you have social media is that, like, once they can interact with your social media, you're kind of taking your value with you, just like a good basketball team takes their defense with them on the road. It's the same kind of situation where you're taking your value with you, but you can do it very quickly through social circle. And the main thing, and this is the term I got from Bulzarian, is low perceived effort. So you're able to show high levels of status with low perceived effort. And so because of that, that's why what Tristan is saying, like for instance, I have a specific social circle in New York? I do, but when I go to New York, there's a couple things that happen. I'll just contact people I know in Vegas who know, because of my social circle, who know people in New York. Like Jason Strauss is a great example. He owns Tal Hakkasan, and then he will set it up for me when I go to these places. And then I'll be like, hey, yeah, man, I host a bikini competition over at Wet Republic, and now the entire city is open and available to me because my social circle. We're thinking of social circles as these little pods that exist in different cities, but because of Instagram, it's one big pod now. It's one big Coachella pod. It's one big Burning Man pod. It's one big EDC pod or EDC Orlando pod. It's one big Life is Beautiful pod. It's one big fucking Miami Swim Week pod. But when you go to Miami Swim Week, a lot of those people are not from Miami, and it becomes like all the cool people are in Ibiza in the summer, or they're in the Hamptons or whatever, and it becomes one big massive social circle that is connected through Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And so that now what happens is your value on your phone that you can show through social media is now your key to access in different places, even when you don't live in that city. I've done it several times where I go to a city, I don't know anyone there, and I ask some people in my social circle, who do we know in Chicago? Who do we know in whatever, Vancouver, whatever? And when couple girls tell me what to do and who to ask for, immediately social circle is enacted that way. And then I can still do cold approach, but now I'm doing cold approach in the VIP at the best club in Vancouver or Toronto, even though I've never hung out in those places. I can do cold approach in those best places, and I'm talking to more attractive women. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Michael, something I want to add on to that.
As far as that goes, like, you definitely want to utilize Instagram as like a way to get your in when you go somewhere else and you're traveling and whatnot. Yeah, Tristan, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just going to add something just small onto that. It's just that, like, because I kind of had that exact same experience that you actually just referred to. I lived in Vegas, and then I was going back to school, so then I had to go to Boston. And because of what I built in Vegas was displayed on my page, I was able to reach out to various people and get a lot of response to our reception, get access to the higher selling clubs, even though didn't particularly have status in those areas, but I didn't have to go to these high value clubs do all this cold approach. As soon as I moved to the city, I was going into the best high value events. And if I did cold approach, which we can do in a social circle setting, my conversion ratio was just a lot higher. So I definitely take that the social circle you build into a different place very fluently. That's all I wanted to say on that.
There's something I want to bring up, if you guys will allow me, and I think we'll all agree to this, but like, this is something that was really helpful for me. It's something I knew, but I'd never seen an illustration for. I just want to show you guys real quick. This is the standard female delusion chart, which is from Homath. Again, I highly recommend Homath. My new buddy Homath. I interviewed him yesterday. If you guys look up here, one of the things that'll happen is that when women rate men in an unfamiliar environment, this means unfamiliar. He didn't write it on this chart, but this is an unfamiliar environment. In an unfamiliar environment, what we've seen is from dating apps is that 80% of men are deemed to be unattractive, or the term they use is below average attractiveness. 80% of men obviously cannot be below average attractiveness. That statistically doesn't make sense from a mathematics standpoint, but that's what women believe. 80% of men are deemed unattractive. 20% of men are deemed attractive, and 4.5% of men are so attractive that women will actually pursue them. Okay. That's in an unfamiliar environment. So you see, it says short term there. That's what he means by that. Over here in a long term environment, or what's called a familiar environment, you start to see the rating system come back more into balance, but it's not quite like this. It's actually a little bit still skewed to the left, where a woman, she's a 6 and she's dating a guy who's a 6, but she thinks she's a 9 and she thinks he's a 5. That still kind of happens in a long term dating sense. But the reason why things are more balanced is because it's a familiar environment. So what we want to do is get them from an unfamiliar environment to a familiar environment. How do we, this one over the left here, you see the people below a 3, those people are like a ghost. He calls them non-people. And then over here on the right, you see that people, it sort of distributes normally. Okay, now here's the thing. With men rating women in long-term and short-term environments, you see up at the top, that's kind of the purple maroon color up here at the top. Men generally date women or rate women on a bell curve. So 5s are 5s, 6s are 6s, 7s are 7s. An average woman to us, if we were to look at women in Walmart, not in nightclub, but like in Walmart, different places, an average woman is a 5. We think a 5 is a 5 and a 6 is a 6. Women, again, will see a guy who's a 5 and think that he's a 0. A guy who's a 3, she doesn't. There's a study, and I'm still trying to look up the data on it. There's a study shows that when women see unattractive men, their brain doesn't even like have any neurochemical response. Meaning women don't even see unattractive men. Not that they think that they're unattractive. They don't even see them. There's one experiment where this guy was doing it. She was like, what percentage of men do you think are hot or whatever? And then he points at the mailman and asks the girl, do you think he's hot? And she goes, do I think who's hot? And he goes, that guy right there. And she goes, what guy are you talking about? Like right there. And she goes, you mean the guy behind the mailman? And he goes, no, I'm talking about the mailman. In her brain, she could not conceptualize the mailman as being a sexual option. So she's legitimately a ghost in a short-term dating context. And what like Date Psych and those guys are saying is that about a third of men do not get to participate in short-term dating, but they do in long-term dating, or they do in a familiar environment. So what's the answer here? The answer is to get women from an unfamiliar environment, especially if you're a guy who's shorter, not particularly good looking, you don't have the required attributes to be in the short-term dating environment, to get them out of a short-term, or to get them out of an unfamiliar environment, this blue thing on the left, to a familiar dating environment, this purple thing on the right. And so the easiest way that I found to do this is Social Circle. Social Circle is a natural, organic way to get women from an unfamiliar environment to a familiar environment. Because if you just try to get women to judge you based on the short-term or unfamiliar environment situations, the hotter guy is just going to beat you. Like you're just going to have, not all the time, obviously, if you have really good game, you can counter that. But my point is, for the most part, Mark, the guy who's in the VIP or the guy who's better looking is going to have a significant advantage in an unfamiliar environment. And that's what Tinder, Bubble, and Hinge shows us. So this is the thing I'm trying to show here, is we want to get girls from the blue area over here to the purple area. And we do that from getting them from an unfamiliar environment to a familiar environment. And the best way to do that is through Social Circle.
Yeah, no,
sorry to use the math there. I'm sorry to get nerdy on you, but yeah.
No, it's all good. I agree with that 100%. But I just don't think that we should limit ourselves to needing a social event as a crutch in order to get women, right? So my question to you would be, what would you do if you, and by the way, like I love Social Circle. Like I think, we're on the same page 90% of things. But what would you do if you're in a situation where you can't use your Social Circle as a value proposition to invite her over and then talk to her in a familiar environment?
Two answers here. One, we do what's called, it is kind of Social Circle. We do what are called container events, where we have her come over and it's like a group of people and we're playing cards. It's not an event, so to speak, but it's like one of the biggest cheat codes I've ever found is this game called Never Have I Ever. You can buy the cards for it. Having girls come over and play Never Have I Ever is been one of the greatest ways I've ever seen to have girls come over, have a blast, things turn hypersexual, and the women are the ones that turn it sexual. It's almost never the men. Yeah. There's other games.
Mike, I think he's more asking if you don't even have that. Like if you're
no. Well, listen. I understand what I'm saying, but you can still do certain stuff like that by having like group get-togethers, because they're not quite the same thing as events. The other thing was, oh man, I forgot. I had a second point, which was more direct to what you were saying before. Yeah. Oh, this is the other part. This is going to be really confusing to a lot of people when I explain this. When we invite girls to events, Hamza, about half the time we aren't even going to the event and they're not going to the event. And this is just follow me along. I can prove to you this works. but it's very non-intuitive. And it's one of the secrets to my program. Often there'll be a super hot girl that you see in like Hungary, or a girl who lives in London, or a place where she's just not coming to your event. And then you're inviting her to a party in Los Angeles. And for whatever reason, you can't make it to the party. We still do invites to parties that girls can't get to and that we can't get to. And what it does is it creates open threads. And you guys know on Instagram, the way it works is if you message a girl, if you direct message a girl that you don't know, it goes into the request folder instead of the primary folder. What happens is when we do these event invites, we get openings for thousands and thousands and thousands of women that move from the request folder into the primary folder. So that to answer your question, could we go up and just talk to girls generally and ask them out? Yes, but there's really not much of a need to, because we're inviting them to events they can go to and events they can't go to. And then what eventually happens, Hamza, is that when they get to Vegas or whatever city we're in, they're asking us out. They're like, hey, Michael, I'm in Vegas. Can you set us up with XYZ? Because you're the guy who invited me to the Maxim party, the Teatro party, Babes in Toyland. You're the guy who invited me to the bikini competition. You're the guy who invited me to all these different events. You're the guy to know when I get to that city. And immediately, instead of me pursuing her, she's actually pursuing me and my social circle. So it makes it super easy. But what you're asking is, what do we do in a cold approach situation to just get a girl to come home one-on-one with us? It's the same thing as what you would do. It's just for my situation, what I found is, if a girl really likes me and I go do that, then it works really well. But in a social situation, I can take a girl who doesn't like me and then use attraction triggers to very strongly make her have genuine desire for me by doing things like we talked about with mate choice copying and Sexy Sun's hypothesis, pre-selection. So that's the reason. Roundabout answer to what your question is.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I've been in a lot of situations where the girl didn't like me through cold approach, and then I end up going home with her. But Sam and Chris, do you guys have any experiences like that?
Many. And it's interesting. So like, I think we're all on the same page. I completely agree that parties and social circle and the Instagram is awesome. Absolutely. It's something I'm still very much in my building phase, but it's something I'm very much looking forward to when I actually have more time. But there is something to be said about being able to just go out and start, maybe you're at the crosswalk waiting and you just start joking around with the people there. Or you just start joking around with people in general, maybe start high-fiving people, whatever. What I'm getting at is just genuinely have fun with people while you're out and about. I do this all the time when I'm just, maybe I'm going to go get something to eat and I still got to come back and code. I will go out and just socialize with people and have a great time, get my energy up. And then I will start attracting people left and right. I start seeing people looking at me. I start seeing women interested in me. I haven't even opened yet because I'm presenting that type of what social circle will give. I'm giving that pre-selection just by hanging out with people. And then if I want to open up somebody who maybe I just started seeing, like maybe just all of a sudden I turn the corner and there she is, my energy, my state, as they call it, is so high, and I'm just giving off so much good positive energy, and I'm just trying to show people a fun time that it works just so damn well. And having that skill to be able to really ground yourself in your own presence and just give to people is something that I don't think you can achieve with social circle or any other type of thing where you have set up an environment. This is something where I have to build it from the ground up each time. I've gotten very good at building it the ground up each time. I call it a vibe cake. And having that skill just translates to everything in life. And I think it's something that should not be ignored about the powers of cold approach and doing that.
But what you
Absolutely,
just
Chris.
described there was just building a social circle. That's what you just described.
Hold on.
It's literally what you just described.
Before we go on, Chris, I totally understand where you're coming from. I'm going to disagree, and then I'm going to give you some evidence to disagree. This is the first moment I met my girlfriend. There she is in the back. And this was me going up. We're doing cold approach with her and a group of girls. And I started the intro by doing it with my phone out. Okay. That's her. That's the first time we ever met. That's her right there. You guys know I have proofs in the pudding. She lives with me now. That's the first moment we ever met. And she's showing compliance by jumping into a video with me because of the way we teach how to do this. Now, because I did that, a bunch of other girls jumped in the video, i.e. creating a social circle in about 8.9 seconds. That's what we did. Okay. It's so the idea of having fun and then being able to give this fun energy. This is not a technique that is unique to cold approach. All right. That's the point I'm trying to make. Again, one more time. This is me cold approaching my girlfriend, the girl who became my girlfriend. Right there in this video. She's 20 years old. I'm 46 years old. And now she lives with me. So that concept still works within the parameters of social circle. Okay. That's the thing. What I'm saying is what you're saying is correct up to the point where you think that social circle doesn't do this because it provably does.
And I'm willing to
and
concede
something
that
I wanted to add to that is like a lot of things that we're talking about is like this masculine energy, these vibes of the presence, like that's not really like real stuff. Like to me, that's not, I'm not real in the sense that it's not scientific. Social circle is actually scientific and is like it literally proven like with actual psychological concepts. And the way I see it is from what you're kind of the point that you kind of made. Like Chris, I agree with everything you actually just said. Like, yes, it is a great skill to go up to these people, bring people together, show them a good time, have other people see that. I 100% agree with that. But to me, that's not a cold approach. It starts off with the cold approach, but you're building, you're meeting people through people. That's social circle.
That's essentially, so that's where I argue with you, Tristan. It is cold approach, which also begs the argument that I think we all could agree at some point. There was a time in cold approach where it was like, okay, we are losers and we have to figure out how to trick the people into thinking we're not losers. And I feel like that is long dead. We have now evolved into saying we are nothing but just people with good energy who want to share that with people with energy. And that's kind of the difference between now. I would argue that cold approach is now social circle on a more immediate.
When you say energy, what's energy? Like that's not a thing.
And energy is absolutely
a real
absolutely a thing. By energy, I mean the how you are feeling inside and other.
Yeah, so that's a metaphor. So Tristan, he's using a metaphor for energy. He doesn't actually mean energy. Like I can look up the definition of energy. It's not what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, because you're right.
Yeah.
It's not like there's
Sorry, I just wanted to
energy,
clarify.
but yeah. But what I mean is that people can feel that you're having a good time, that you feel happy in yourself, and that draws people in just because we are social creatures. That's what I mean.
So the term you're looking for, Christopher, is called mirrored neurons in psychology and neurology. Look up mirrored neurons. That's actually what you're referring to. The other thing I wanted to bring up, because
that's the other.
We're talking about this right here. You guys don't see on the screen, that is mate choice copying. So this is when we say that we base what we do in social circle on science. Mate choice copying, non-independent mate choice occurs when a female of an animal species copies other fellow females' mate choice. Do you guys see that? This is why we so heavily use pre-selection and social circle stuff with social circle in order to create attraction. This behavior is speculated to be one of the driving forces in sexual selection of the evolution of male traits. Okay, so that's why this is really important. This concept of mate choice copying that I discussed with Dr. David Buss is what we pretty much base all of from the dating aspect. I'm going to one more caveat. My program is not a dating program. It's like maybe 15% of my program. My program isn't a holistic improvement. It's a performance coaching program for men. It's just whenever I get into these debates, all we talk about is dating, intersexual dynamics. But the mate choice copying aspect of it works incredibly well with creating attraction for women, for the guys who would normally not have a chance, meaning the guy who would be 5'3" and has a lot of difficulty talking to women. Maybe he's balding. His points go up, and there's scientific studies to prove this. His points of attractiveness go up as he is perceived to be attractive to other women. Here is the most mind-blowing study I've ever heard. Okay, guys, you got to listen to this. There's a study that shows that when women looked at a man by himself and gave him a whatever rating, when those same women looked at him when he was surrounded by women, or like one or two women, his points went up. That's obvious. We all know that. We've all seen that. That's just concept of pre-selection. But here's where it gets crazy. There was an independent survey where they took a group of women and a group of men, and these women did not know if these men were married. And the women were more attracted to the men who were taken, even when they didn't physically see the women taken, meaning that the abundance that you get from being around a bunch of women transfers into your total person. like your energy, if you want to call it that, like what you said before. Women can sense when you have a level of abundance and you have a bunch of women around you, even when they don't know that you actually do, when these guys didn't have wedding rings on. So what I'm saying is, women, I personally believe, are the most.
What do you think that is, Mike? Is it like their behavior, their tonality, just the way?
No,
like,
I think so. So I don't know. So
I'm
going to use non-scientific terms here, but I think abundance is not only a reality, but it's also a mentality, and the mentality transmits into the way your shoulders sit, the way your eyes move. Again, if I have abundance with women and a girl who's beautiful comes up to me, I'm like, hey, what's going on? If I have no abundance with women and a beautiful woman comes up to me, I'm like, hey, look down at the boobies, look up, eyes are a little bit bigger, palms sweat, vocal tonality goes up half an octave. These things happen. These autonomic nervous system responses happen. And so I think women can sense abundance, and abundance is something that you get very quickly when you do social circle. So that's another reason why mate choice copying, again, the scientific idea of mate choice copying. And then the other thing is that women being the more socially calibrated of the two genders, I think we can all agree with that. Women are approached far more by men than men approach. I'm sorry. Women are approached more by men than we as men are approached by women throughout our lifetime. And that's why women, I think, climb the social calibration ladder quicker than men do. And so because of that, that's why I think when you try to fake it, or like you said before, pickup was previously men trying to trick women. And this is the reason why it didn't work long-term, is because women are more socially calibrated. That's essentially, what happened. That's why I think personally, mate choice copying is such a key to men's success. It's kind of a cheat code. Like when I go out, there's something I learned a long time ago, about 25 years ago. I used to manage a strip club, and whenever one of the girls would have a birthday party, we'd be like, all right, let's all go meet at a bar. And like, without trying, I would walk into a bar with 10 girls. And then all of a sudden, like the hottest girl I've ever seen just wants to know who I am, comes up and starts talking to me. And then like, I don't have to put in any effort, and then she wants to sleep with me. It was the first time I noticed that. It's because I was with other really, really pretty girls. And then that thing kind of builds on itself. So now I've been with a girl who's very attractive. So now the next time I go up to another girl who's of that level of attractiveness, the autonomic nervous system does not fire. I'm chill. It's like, oh, I got rejected by you, but you wouldn't even make my top 20. So like, I don't really give a fuck. I know that's a very shallow way of saying it, but that's the way I look at it. And so you do that over and over again. You get that mirror exposure, that experience over and over again. And then eventually you get to the point where you have an abundance mentality, and it's really easy for you to create these attraction triggers.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the whole point about your body language signaling to a woman that you get abundance is fire. That's what I also mentioned in the last debate. To like signal pre-selection to people in the club is just, you walk differently than most guys. You have a more relaxed and content facial expression than most guys, and that can convey pre-selection to women and just increase your attractiveness. So totally behind all those points that you just made.
There's nothing, and I still stand by this. I think we all agree on a lot of things, but there is something about going through the crucible and fire of doing, basically saying, okay, I am a party of one, and here I am, and I present myself to you, and showing everyone an amazing time. The fact that I can do that, and you guys could obviously do it too, I'm sure, has translated into such a presence and such a confidence that, when I actually do start doing social circle, like I said, I am dedicated to this product I'm building, and it's very important to me. I feel like it's only going to translate more so. And I hope that makes sense, that it's really a exercising of your neurons and your brain by going up and doing this stuff.
Yeah, totally. I see where you're coming from. I totally understand that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a mindset thing, right? Where you have healthier mindsets, because you have to approach women without any sort of crutch or anything. You're approaching them from the place of like, hey, I'm an attractive guy. I want to go meet this person and see if she's also attractive on the inside, and then see if we have a connection and stuff like that, and have chemistry.
I gotta head
as
out,
far as
man,
the
but I guess,
rejection
Hamza,
stuff
the
goes,
one thing I guess the only thing like I maybe have like, I agree with everything you're actually saying on this part. I guess I think I like what you said about like things being a crutch. Sometimes, not saying you or anyone like this, but this is what I've kind of seen with the community when I was first getting into it, is that sometimes like cold approach is the crutch. Our day game is the crutch. and they don't evolve towards something
Interesting.
different. And I think cold approach is great. I think that's a good starter, but you can't cold approach like for 5 years, right? Keep the skill for sure, but don't let that be the only thing that you do. I think it should be a means to an end, social circle, and you should evolve towards a certain point. That's
Yeah, I mean,
where
I don't
I
think
have to
you
go,
should.
but
There
that's
should.
where I'm going from here.
I don't think guys should go out and like day game relentlessly for years. But yeah, man, if you gotta go, it was nice talking to you.
Yeah, you too, bro. I'll see you around, man.
Peace. And then as far as like a mindset when it comes to rejection too, I think that the healthiest mindset you could have is just like, hey, like the girl rejected my approach or she rejected how I portrayed myself. And there's no other reason that you need to rationalize the rejection.
Yeah, I actually, I'll even take it one step further because I agree with you, Hamza. I take it one step further. She's rejecting me. Most men are fucking creepy. And she's been approached by most men who are creepy, and she doesn't know the difference between me and most men because I'm not of like, there's nothing exceptional about me when I first walk up to her. So I understand that. And I'm also happy because at some point I want a woman who's picky to pick me. So the fact that women are more selective than men is a good thing. Because what I don't want is a woman who isn't selective. So she fucks me and then fucks everyone else. And then I don't know whose baby it is. So I whenever a woman is rejects a guy like that, that's the way I frame it. I was like, this is something she needed in her evolution in order for us to get to this point. That's why it's necessary. So it's not her fault. So there's no reason to hate her. That's why we're in the position we're in.
Yeah, I just view it as like us needing to improve. And also, like most guys, you are right. They approach and they are very creepy. They try and throw parties and they're really creepy. I mean, that's why you have like girls that pour drinks instead of the dudes, right? To make sure that
Yeah,
vibe isn't
exactly.
there.
Yeah, women always pour women's drinks at my events. Men do not pour women's drinks.
I like that.
Because
That's actually really
yeah.
cool. That is one thing when I was getting into this in the beginning that, you know, especially when I started getting, you know, rather good at it, I was kind of blown away just though, because as a man, you don't really appreciate a woman's experience until you haven't had a chance to experience a woman's experience because it's so out of men's reality, how they experience life and how men approach them, that it's somewhat mind blowing for the person who experiences it for the first time.
Hell yeah. Sam, you want to talk about your like transition from like learning on your own to coaching and then like your move to Colombia and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So I guess you know, I've always had this dream of like wanting to help people out ever since I got into game. You know, I've been learning about pickup and seduction and male female dynamics for like the last like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. But yeah, early on in my journey, I had a thing where I was helping out a good friend of mine. He was following the same material as me, and I was getting better results than he was. And I was able to help him out, and seeing him win for me, that was like, yo, this is awesome. So I always had like that dream to really become a coach. And I think after working with you, I really solidified my game to a point where I was like very, very confident with my skills. I was achieving insane results, you know, picking up girls left and right, social circle this, rotations that. I had a long-term girlfriend for 2 years, and it was a good experience. And now that I'm in Colombia, I've been here for 2 years, you know, I decided that, you know, maybe now is the best time to really just pursue my passion and just help other guys out. So, you know, I picked up being a coach, and so far I've had a couple people join my program. They have seen insane results. And what's cool is, you know, my program is not just like based in Colombia. It's international. You know, it's really for guys all over the world who need help. And but obviously, if you come to Colombia, if you come to Medellin, then there's other perks that you get with it. You get to meet me in person and hang out. I, you know, show the guys, you know, around Colombia how to approach the women here in the correct way, how to set up events, how to build a social circle out here, all while knowing very limited Spanish. So it's really cool. And I love seeing people win out here. And actually, I'm just talking to a guy right now, and he told me that he wants to do a little boot camp this weekend and, you know, start learning how to become more confident. And so I'm really passionate about helping him out and seeing everybody else win, man. So.
Hell yeah. Yo, so Michael, since talking to couples a lot of the time and women about long-term relationships, what I've noticed is that most women say that the guy they're with just ended up like sticking around. He was just always around and persisted, and then they eventually got in a relationship. So that goes to your point as far as the hoe math stuff you were showing. In your social circles, like the regulars that you see, do you see them getting into relationships more or just hooking up?
Yeah, yeah, no, shout out to Pear. So there's a Marine Corps major who lives next door to me. He's one of my earlier clients. He just got married to this like huge Brazilian model. It's pretty crazy. Like, it was really funny when he started dating her, because like he had his like first threesome with her and all this kind of crazy stuff was happening. And it happened so fast and it was so far high. It was so much higher than what he expected in life. It was kind of crazy. Well, there's also a lot of guys in my program that are already married, and they're just trying to use this. Some of them are polygynous, but some of them are just trying to like, they come to the recognition that being married and having other women show attraction triggers to their man makes the woman more sexually stimulated. Rollo even talks about this. Rollo said when he started doing Access Vegas with me, he said his wife would jump on him every time he got back to Reno. So there's a lot of different, purposes and functions for this whole thing. But what the original question was,
do you
about
see
relationships
circle?
or relationship or hookups? What I found is, Hamza, and I, this is just something I've noticed. I know an extreme example is what Myron said, which is every dude needs a 50 body count before he like considers getting into a relationship or getting a girlfriend. I don't know if 50 is the right number. And I think that number would be different in different locations. But what I do think is that men do need to have a period where they're less discriminate about girls. And like, I just think they need to have a period where it's like, she's hot and I want to fuck. And they just go through that for a while so that they get to a point where they're like, she's hot, but I can still see through it. And that took me a while to get to that point. Like, I would say when I was 22, if she was hot, I was down to have sex. Like, that was it. There was I didn't care what her political party was, or if she was close to her dad, or if she had a good job. None of that mattered to me. At 46, those things matter to me because I've been with women that attractive. So those things don't matter as much. So now I'm looking for the tiebreaker: good family, educated, level of femininity, good with her family, good with kids, wants to stay home, stays in shape, good genetics. Like, those kind of things are things that I look for, whereas before I didn't look for those. So I would say some of the younger guys are more interested in hooking up, and some of the older guys, a lot of the older guys who've gone through a divorce, a lot of divorcees, men who have gone through divorce join our program. And so those guys definitely, they're definitely looking for something long-term. And so that's what I teach. And the thing with me is, I'm pretty well-known fucking, player here in Vegas. And then I now have a girlfriend. And so like, that was a transition for me too. And those lessons that I've learned, I pass along to the guys in my program.
I kind of see it as a bit of a pendulum. So even in if you look at some other social circle like figures, Hugh Hefner, Dan Bilzerian, whoever else, these guys have had periods of monogamous relationships and gone back into the dating pool and then back that way again sometimes. So maybe it is that way too. Or what is your experience seeing that?
Oh, well, they wanted monogamy.
Yeah, exactly. And then they would have a relationship, and then they'll go back.
So they don't want monogamy necessarily. So Dan talks about this in his book, The Setup. So there's a couple of girls there. He is dating this one girl, Sophia Beverly, and I'm friends with Sophia. And so I remember when Sophia told me Dan was my boyfriend, and I was like, there's no way Dan was your boyfriend. Dan was probably sleeping with 25 other girls. But no, it says in the book that Dan actually tried monogamy with Sophia Beverly for about a year, from about mid 2018 to mid 2019, somewhere in that period. It's right before it ended. He broke up with her when he got the Ignite house, the one that's at 10979 Shalon Road in fucking Bel Air, the most famous party house on earth, that fucking 5-story huge mansion that he has out there with the football field up on the top, that place. When he did that, he tried it for a while. And the same thing happened with Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner was trying the thing with Holly Madison, eventually settled down with Crystal Harris Hefner. You just go through these periods. And I think something similar happened to me, where it was a period where when you have this many women in your life, it evokes chaos, and it makes it harder for you to work, and it kind of sucks your energy away. And some of the energy that it brings into your life is bad. And having one good girl to sort of like take care of your needs. My girlfriend is, I stole this from Sterling Cooper. She's the comfort and peace officer. Kylie is my comfort and peace. When I come home, I want things to be comfortable, and I want her to create peace. That's what her job in my life is. And she does that for me. And me being with 20 girls, I'm not going to get that. So that's, I think, Ice, what it is that what they're looking for. In Hugh Hefner's situation and in Bilzerian's situation, with his last two girlfriends, Dan was just with one girl, which is crazy to me. I couldn't believe that he did that, but he did that with I think her name was Madison. You guys remember that very thin girl that he was with during COVID, and then he was like that with Sophia Beverly, where he was just with one girl and no one else. But then eventually it just got to the point, and Dan told me, where he just wanted to sleep with other women, and the girl wasn't comfortable with it, so that they broke up. And so what I do instead, like I've mentioned before, is I pretty much will only consider long-term relationships with women who are bisexual. If they're not bisexual, then I would just rather be single. So it's difficult, Ice. You will get into a situation where you'll have more order and less chaos in your life if you just have one good woman. So I totally understand why all those people would do that.
As a married man, I know that for sure.
Yeah.
But either way, you guys want to jump on to another topic around this, or should I throw something in? All right.
I mean, I'm good to go with whatever you want to talk about.
All right. So looking back at the comments from the last debate we did, the chaotic debate, let's say, one comment said cold approach is described as a skill and social circle is described as a lifestyle. So what are your thoughts on this? I know that's very brief, but if cold approach is just a skill, it can contribute to your own lifestyle, whatever that lifestyle could be. And if social circle is described as a lifestyle, then surely it has various skills. So yeah, feel free to discuss that one. Because, social circle and cold approach are not exactly, it's not like we're comparing metal to metal here. It's not exactly apparent that they're very similar.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they're both tools that build off of each other. Where if you want to be really good at social circle, you have to have good cold approach skills. And if you want to maximize your cold approach leads, you want to have a good social circle. So I would just say they're both tools that you use in order to maximize your results and increase your quality of life.
I completely agree with that. And it's kind of interesting that somebody would think, because what is cold approach? It's nothing more than just, hanging out with people and having a good time. And then maybe if you're trying to meet a girl or whatever, sprinkling in a little intent or whatever it is. So I think the person who asked that question you can always tell who watches way too much pickup content, but doesn't actually go out. And I think that's exactly what that is. Like, you don't come to that realization when you go out. You realize it's all kind of the same.
Yeah, and people have an interesting warped idea of cold approach too. Like, it's more of like a pickup artist thing where you walk up to a girl and you try and convince her to go home with you and stuff like that. It's an outdated view on what that actually is. And then a lot of people think a lot of people think social circle is just like a party you set up to have sex with girls, that's not what it is either.
No.
So both can be kind of bastardized in a way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Michael said that no one's taught social circle the way that he has. I would say that the cold approach stuff that I teach is not super similar to the like pickup artist stuff that they teach out there. And we both, at the end of the day, the clients that we've had both improve as men and people at the end of the day and increase the quality of life that they have instead of just getting like girls.
All right. Michael, any thoughts on that? If cold approach is a skill and social circle is a lifestyle? I know there's no question in that, but
Yeah, I mean, these are they're just words, and the words are like, is one thing more effective than the other? I think that's the only thing that matters. There are skills, definitely skills in cold approach. Like, for instance, the skill of leadership. This is something that I don't see as quite as much in pickup, cold approach pickup, where I have to lead large groups of girls to go do things with me. Like, for instance, I have she's not here right now, so I won't say anything. I have a group. My girlfriend's birthday is on December 7th, which is cool. It's also Bulgarian's birthday, so I got to figure out a way to go to both parties that day. But the what'll happen is on the 7th, I went through her like last couple photos, and I found all the girls that liked her photo, right? And then I put them all in a group chat. So there's all these fucking stunning ass girls that are in a group chat, and they're all working together to plan out her birthday. So what's going to happen is on her birthday on December 7th, I'm going to go, and we're going to have like a theme. I think I'm dressing up like Western or whatever. And it's going to be me and like 20 girls and my girlfriend. And we're all celebrating her girlfriend or her birthday. And it's just created this really, really simple social circle environment. Me being able to lead these girls, to get them in one place at one time, to get them on time, to set up the plans, to get the girls to trust me. And then afterwards, possibly if 1 or 2 or 3 of the girls want to come home with Kylie and I, those are all skill sets as well. I don't think it's just a social circle is just, a lifestyle, and it's not skill sets. There's skill sets involved as well.
Yeah, there are like multiple skills in cold approach or social circle that help you improve. It's not just one thing.
Already. How could a guy on either side measure their results? So how could they measure their results in cold approach, and how would they measure their results in social circle?
I mean, it really depends what they're looking for. And it's hard to measure results because like a lot of people don't account for quality. They just think of like lay count or how many girls they're hooking up with or how many girls they got to a party or something like that. But they don't account for the quality of the girls that they're bringing in. And then they don't account for the quality of the interaction that they have, right? So like a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, I approached 20 girls tonight. But then you find out they only talked to them for like 5 seconds. Or they say they hooked up with a bunch of girls or they had like 100 girls at the party, but you don't account for like how interested those girls were for being at the party or like how hot the girls were that they brought to the parties or hooked up with. So it's definitely hard to measure results, but I would say that it's when I'm talking to a client, we usually identify what their goals are, and then whether they hit those goals or not is whether they're getting a good result or a bad result. But we usually base it off of your own actions, which long term, those healthy actions and mindsets lead to the goals that they want to achieve.
I think this is actually what I wanted to ask you guys. So I'm in Budapest right now. I'm also part of Michael's program, and I've been helping him coach for about 2 years, and I've been part of his program for like 3 years now. And I'm like I'm in Budapest right now, so I'm around a lot of these like pickup guys here. For some reason, this is some kind of hub that.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know why, but
I think because you have disproportionately attractive women in Eastern Europe. I think that's why, and you don't have a huge middle class in Romania. I think that's probably why.
Yeah. So
you're in Bucharest or
so
Budapest?
actually Budapest. So actually Game Budapest has 230 members on Telegram. How crazy is that? That's one of the biggest for Eastern Europe that we have in the network.
It's like a huge like digital nomad hub. So
yeah.
And like basically like what I wanted to, this like the main like thing I just couldn't get over is like I would be hanging out with these guys, and it seems like the reality I have when I'm like organizing events or when I'm actually taking my social circle really seriously and everything, it's just like a completely different world than what these pickup guys are doing, where they're just going out and just talking to people. I mean, it's like super fun and stuff, but when we're just looking at results, and we're just not comparing like how fun I mean, everyone likes talking to people, right? I mean, like going out is super fun. These nightlife places are super fun and everything. But when it comes to just like how high status people are meeting or what kind of girls are dating and all this stuff, it just seems like the options I have when I'm cultivating my social circle very actively is like in a completely different world than what they are and like what they're doing. And this is not just like one guy. This is like almost every pickup guy I've kind of run into. And that's not like they're dating like ugly people or like ugly girls or whatever, but it's like I've never seen a pickup guy where like I actually wanted to swap my social skills with his or swap my girlfriend with his or like I wish I had his life or like this never happened. In fact, like the opposite. Like I wouldn't want to date any of their girlfriends or anything like that. And my girlfriend has said the same thing. And like what I don't understand is that since we were like all in school, like the coolest people that were dating the hottest girls or doing coolest things socially were like the socially high status guys, like the pickup like the quarterbacks and the athletes and stuff. And I just don't get like why would someone want, if someone is like purely out for results and trying to date the most attractive people that they can, why would they want to opt for doing some kind of pickup thing when it's like been shown like throughout our whole lives since we were in like school together, like that the most high status socially well carbonated people or the most socially high status men were always dating the most attractive people. So like even like as a 30-year-old man like living in Hungary when I used to live in America, and even when I was in high school, like you see the same thing over and over again. It's like you just want to be the most high status version of yourself as you can, is be around the most high status girls that way. So like I just don't get like why, if you want results, why would you, like where this idea come from? Because I just don't see any proof for it that you would actually want to go like some kind of pickup route.
Yeah, I mean most pickup guys are weirdos. Like 99% of dudes that are into pickup are weird. They're socially uncalibrated. They have very little value. They have low access, right? Their status is very, very low. And I came back from Budapest. I was there on my Europe trip just a little while ago. And it's like the reason why there are so many pickup guys there is because it's a cheap city with hot girls. It's like that backpackers heaven. So they go there because they don't have that much money to themselves. The girls are hot. Their inherent value when they're traveling as well is higher than in their home city. They probably can't get girls where they live. So then they come to a city like Warsaw or Budapest or Bucharest, and they talk to these girls who are like way lower value as far as lifestyle goes. And these girls think that they're amazing. And because they're also foreign, the girls don't necessarily pick up on the awkwardness or like the autism that these pickup dudes have because of the language barriers and the cultural barrier, right? So they think they're, yeah, all right, this is just a normal guy from Australia or the US or Canada, whatever. And because they are from like one of the big, more like richer countries, they have inherent value when they go to these places. But my experience in Budapest was most of those guys that I met were weird. They'd usually come and approach me when they saw me at the clubs or something, or talking to girls, or they'd just recognize me basically because of like the Telegram groups and stuff like that. But they really are very uncalibrated, or they're really not getting that many good skills. And that's why like me and the guys that I teach, we don't identify as pickup artists. We just identify as guys who are interested in women, and we go out there and we convey our value to women through our words and behaviors. And then from there, you can make something happen. Whether it's like have a social circle if you like want to set that up, or if you want to just have like a casual dating life, or maybe even a long-term relationship leading up to marriage. It's all a tool in order to get there, right? So when you cold approach, that's going to help you get the result. And what I've noticed too is like when in Budapest, the guys that I would talk to who are like pickup guys, they don't even know the best venues to go to in order to get the hottest girls. Or if there's $10 cover, they don't want to go to that venue because they don't want to waste $10. When I actually look for places that have cover, the more cover, the better almost, because then that means that it's like screening out those weirdos and the guys that are afraid to pay $10 to get access to a high status venue, or like high status venue, or just a more interesting place to meet women.
You know, I
But
used to
there,
go early to those places to avoid the $10 charge and just wait around for 2 hours. Oh fuck, that was so annoying.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I can't do that anymore. Guys will invite me out because they'll hear that I'm in their city and they're like, hey, we're going to this place at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. And I'm just like, bro, like I'd rather just come later when there are more people and just pay to get in instead of wasting 2 hours waiting around for it to warm up. But I used to do that when I was younger, like when I didn't have that much money and I was building up my old business. So I totally get where they're coming from, but at the same time, like if you can't pay cover, you should probably just go home and work to make money. But
The guys I'm kind of referring to, I feel like they're very like they're just normal cool guys, like they're perfectly well calibrated guys, and some of them even like go out with other people, like do some kind of coaching and stuff. And it's not like I don't think that they're really limited by their like social calibration or whatever. And I'm pretty sure they're pretty successful with women and stuff. It's just that I feel if you're not cultivating your social circle properly, or you're not around in the right like first of all, you can't even get into the right venues or the right parties. You don't even know where these places like these things are. And almost all of my friends or every like Instagram girl I ever dated, none of them came from like meeting at a random club somewhere, or like and when they tell me these stories of like guys approaching them, it's always with a sense of disgust too. So I feel like I'm not saying that these guys have some issues with them. I'm just saying like when you're doing pickup and you're just or whenever you're trying to get the best results with dating wise, I feel like when you're doing pickup, you're just not in the you just can't get into the right place, like in the right setting. Like you just can't get around the right people and have like good, how would I say this, like have the best logistics, not logistics, but have like the best perspective or be like the high value person in that room. um like I just don't get how can you do pickup when there's like a bunch of celebrities in the room with you and you come off as like the guy that the other girls are like looking at and like think like you're like the hottest guy there. I just don't get like how that works, because and I've done the opposite where like I've managed to kind of like cultivate a social setting where I was like there was like some famous people at a party with me and like there were a bunch of girls all over me and stuff. I just don't get like how would you do that doing pickup when there's a bunch of really high status, well calibrated, super social, like really cool guys there, and then how do you outcompete that doing some kind of pickup?
I mean, there's a difference between pickup and socialization, right? Like pickup is just socialization geared towards taking a woman home that moment, right? But if you're in a situation where there are high value people, you're not going to try and like push them to come home, like push the girl to come home with you right then and there. If you don't make it happen, like from a calibration standpoint, you have to go in there, talk to people, interact with them, build up your value, communicate what is good about you, what's not good about you, and through honest signals, which is like your body language, people will know whether you're bullshitting or not. They can mostly tell, especially women, because there's so much more calibrated socially from an evolutionary survival standpoint. So you go in there and you have a conversation with them, and then based on the compliance from like the girls that you're talking to, you can escalate further, or you just keep it how it was and talk to other people. And when you're talking to other people, they're gonna see you, right? If you're in a room with this high status guys and super hot girls, and you're the stranger that no one knows, or that maybe one person invited you and no one else knows you, then you have to build up that familiarity, and you can build up pre-selection in a like cold approach way by just talking to people and building rapport and getting them to like you. And other people are going to see, okay, this person's having a good conversation with people or my peers, so then now they're a warm lead instead of a cold lead. But it's just basic networking. Like how would you go to a networking event and exchange contacts with people and get them to like you, or then go to a dinner after the networking event with people, right? You just use your charisma and your confidence.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. And the issue I have is that I'm trying to imagine how this would work. Like, how would you, so every girl I know that is like, has some kind of low-key IG or model fame here, they're all in like the same circles with like athletes and musicians and whatever. Like these people are like always are hanging out together. It's not like the same people, but it's like the basic crowd of like, like C-tier celebrities and up. They're like always together. Or they just end up at the same party somehow. And what you're saying to me, it sounds like, even like if we take some more concrete example, like some kind of networking example, where like you're at some kind of networking event, it's like, imagine a bunch of like business people know each other, and they're all like really high status guys, and then or high status, business people or whatever you're trying to network in, and then you're just trying to like break in there. And this is even worse when it comes into a social setting, with especially with women who are very like I don't know, like much more like
Nate, I understand where you're coming from, and I agree, because we're going to end up talking about this forever. I totally agree with you. I think the difference is, Nate, is that you and me are kind of used to like a certain physical attractiveness with women. And what I found is that, and what you found too, is that those women tend to bifurcate into certain locations, or they tend to like coagulate in certain areas with certain groups of people. And you want to be in those certain groups of people because, was it Richard Hart who came on my podcast and he was like, this guy's like worth, $400 or $500 million. And he goes out and he goes, the 10s just aren't at Starbucks. The 10s just aren't running around the mall. Like, you have to do something. You have to create something to pull the 10s out of their hole so that they come hang out with you. And I found that to be true, especially in Los Angeles. I found that to be true. Miami, not so much. You can actually see 10s walking down the street in Brickell. But in Miami, in Los Angeles, oh my God, you have to create something to pull them out of their hole. And places where you might see that a little less would be like Medellin, or places like Kiev before the war. You would see where you had a lot of hot girls and it wasn't exceptionally expensive. And so, yeah, that's the case. One of the things, because I've had this discussion a million times, Nate, is that some guys are not looking for women as hot as we're looking for. That's it.
Yeah. So
does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm gonna stop talking soon, but just like, I'm trying to imagine how this would work, and I just can't get it to, like, I just can't imagine how you would do this. Like date these type of girls, or because what kind of happened, like Michael talks about this a lot, how the quality of girls when it comes to marriage or long-term relationships has kind of gone down, as girls have like a lot like larger body counts, and girls like become more masculine and value relationships less. As a guy, you have to work like extra hard to get the same caliber of partner that was much easier to get like 30-40 years ago. And to me, it seems like no matter what your dating goals are, you have to make yourself the most high status version of yourself possible, and get into the most high status circles as you can. Because it's very unlikely you're gonna meet a girl that is gonna satisfy you in all these. I mean, maybe if your standards are lower, then whatever. But it's very unlikely you're gonna meet a girl that kind of satisfies all these points for you, and it's gonna be from like some kind of cold approach. Like, I just can't imagine how this would work. Or maybe like certain.
Yeah. Nate, I've just been doing this a long time. I know that you and I are biased. We're just biased towards these like outrageously attractive women. And in that case, you're correct. By the way, I just want to show you this just so you know that he's not capping. This is one of Nate's events that he threw recently. It's just stunning women in Bucharest all the time. So because that is the case, we're sort of biased to where do we get access to these women? When you talk to these women, they all say the same thing. They meet their boyfriends through whenever I meet girls that are attractive, the thing I always ask them is, where did you meet the last 5 guys that you had sex with? And the answer is always the same thing. It is, I met him through a girl, 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 I met him on Instagram. That's generally what it is. And so because of that, they don't say day game, cold approach, guy come and did cold approach to me on a fucking dance floor. I'm not saying that's not effective. I'm just saying for like really attractive women, I don't find that to be effective at all, because I'm always asking these really attractive women, where did you meet your boyfriends? And they're always telling me the same things. And it's never cold approach day game in a club. It's never that. So that's the reason why it's either those things I just said, or they see a guy who's so fucking attractive that they approach them. But like, again, guys, I have limitless attractive women that I've asked this question to, and it's never cold approach. It's always social circle, which is why I'm not saying that what you guys are saying isn't valid. What I'm saying though is when you're talking about the most attractive girls, this is how they're meeting these guys. And so that's why we're starting from the top down. Now, it's an assumption I probably shouldn't make, but I assume men want like more physically attractive women. But, you know, the more we get into these red pill topics, the more it becomes like, well, maybe that's not what guys want. Maybe girls that are a little bit easier to deal with, or maybe don't get as much attention from men. For me, I'm a little different. I always want the best of everything, and I'm very competitive. And my guys in my program are very competitive. And I literally jokingly, but not jokingly, nobody who works for MOA can date an ugly girl. We've a very, very high standard. Like Miguel and Grant's girlfriends are both 10s. And that's not an accident. We have very high standards when it comes to that. And so does that make us shallow? I think it does. But I think in the end, being able to date like the hottest women gives you a skill set that you can take longer in life.
And like last thing is that I don't know about you guys, or I don't know about anyone else, but whenever I've hung around with girls who get like a ridiculous amount of attention since they were like 17, 18 years old, and I like whenever they talk like when these girls talk about getting approached on the bus or on the street or whatever, they seem like disgusted by it. Like they seem like, oh, this guy actually wanted to talk to me. Like, and
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people that are a lot of girls that deal with weird guys approaching them, because you have to realize that the guys that are approaching are usually not that calibrated. Their skills are not that good. Just like Michael said, how people were not teaching social circles properly, that they were teaching it in a less optimal way than Michael was, right? So most guys that are cold approaching are not getting good results. It's just a fact. They just don't know how to interact with women properly.
Yeah.
And what usually happens is they're in a super horny state. Their ideal type of girl happens to be around them, and then they just like are compelled to go talk to her. And because they're so uncalibrated, probably nervous, they blow it out and they end up creeping her out because they're in this weird like horny state where this girl is their ideal type, and that then they finally go out of their way to talk to girls. Most guys are not talking to women in general, let alone in a calibrated way. But if you take a guy who builds up his cold approach skills in a really, really optimal way, like the way that I teach, or Marcus from UMP and those guys, and you put them in a social circle environment, those guys are usually going to do a lot better than someone who doesn't have those foundations built up properly. Their mind, like it's just a whole different level. Their mindsets are better. Their self-esteem and confidence is way higher than most guys that just do social circle, right? Or the guys who don't know how to cold approach properly. It's just a whole different level. And the guys that are foundationally strong with their inner game and confidence, self-esteem, all that stuff, and are calibrated socially, you put them in a social circle setting and they're just going to absolutely kill it, because not only do their skills, not only are their skills very effective, but because they have that inherent value of being in a social circle setting, they're going to get crazy, crazy results. And when it comes to cold approach, you don't have to like walk around your city all day looking for girls, right? We optimize based on what we're doing. So when it comes to social circle, right, you optimize by inviting certain girls that you like to a certain event that is optimal for getting them there, right? You want to set up the event so that those girls are going to want to show up. Now, when it comes to cold approach or just networking with people who are strangers, you go to places that the hottest girls are going to be at. So you could go to a club, you could go to a business networking event. Some of the hottest girls I've ever met in the world are at business networking events. So you can go to those kind of places and meet super hot girls and socialize with people. And then you can use Instagram, you can use social circle events and whatnot. But my whole thing is like, I'm not going to limit myself or my clients from getting those cold interactions and turning them into something better.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take up too much time. Probably want to talk something else, but I think this thing I'm still stuck on is that the last girl I dated before my current girlfriend she was 17 when she dated like one of the hottest, like the biggest like celebrities here. Like at 17 years old, she lost her virginity to one of the biggest artists. And then after that, she dated like a son of a billionaire. And then she dated me. And then she dated now she's dating another soccer player. And what I don't get is every time I would talk to her about guys coming up to talk to her, like random guys coming to talk to her, it will be like why the fuck is this guy talking to me? And all my other and the thing is, this girl was single for about a week or 2 weeks. And that's the other thing, is that you have such a limited time window to meet a girl that gets this much attention, has this many options. And like I got lucky with I mean, I think it's just luck, right? I mean, because you just have to get so lucky to be at the right place and the right time. And there's such a limited, and these people just get so much attention. There's so much competition. There's so much like shit to come over that if you don't optimize your social circle properly, you don't have a lot of female friends. You don't do you don't have the proper amount of pre-selection. It just seems so unlikely that these like top 1% girls are just gonna fall into your lap, and you're just gonna approach them. And when you talk to them, they're in that 2 week phase where they don't have a boyfriend, and like the stars have to align. That's kind of how it seems to me, that when you're trying to meet one of these women, like these 10s, like when you're trying to actually do the 10, like the star has to align, or you just have to approach like so many fucking girls for like you usually just
Okay, so give me two examples. Like one example that you think is an easy way to meet like your girlfriend, and then an example where you just don't understand how a guy would be able to make it happen with your girlfriend.
Sorry, say it one more time.
So like give me an example of how you believe you can meet your girlfriend versus like you not understanding how you would be able to make it happen with your girlfriend, because I'm not sure exactly what you're unsure of.
So to me, it seems like all these girls and every girl that I'm kind of would ever kind of be interested in dating, they all meet their friends through their boyfriends through their current social circle, almost 100% of them, or because their boyfriend is famous and he uses fame to kind of generate attraction. That takes up like 90 to 95% of like how my attractive female friends meet their boyfriends. So to me, that seems like the proven way, is that if everyone's meeting their boyfriend this way, or the guy they're dating this way, and you want to date one of these girls, then you have to either have a kick-ass social circle, or you have to be famous. So one of these two things.
So it goes down to value. It boils down to value, and it's very important to not take like it's very important to not use a small sample size and project that onto everyone, right? Like there are a lot of women that are meeting guys through dating apps, right? That's how they're getting their relationships. But does that mean that's the most optimal way? Not necessarily. If you're meeting women that are more involved in social circle and you ask them, where did you meet your boyfriend? They're probably going to say social circle because that's what they do. If you talk to a girl who's more introverted and she doesn't go out to social circle events as much, or you talk to Zara Larson, who got cold approached by one of Marcus's clients, right? She's going to say that the guy was amazing and he was really nice to talk to, right? Or you talk to another woman who has gotten approached by a guy who's calibrated. They're gonna give positive reference experiences. So it's important not to take like certain groups and then boil that down as like the only way for you to get results, because there are a lot of different paths you can take in order to get the same result. When it comes to social circle, it's amazing. I love social circle, as you guys know. We talked about this the whole call. We talked about it last call. It's a great way to meet women. It's a great way to take all the contacts that you have and funnel them into one event, right? Or multiple events over the course of a year or so or longer. But cold approach is just a good way to meet people that you have no prior interaction with. You have you just see a stranger. You're a guy, she's a girl, you feel attraction, you walk up to her and talk to her. You don't have to go up to her and say, hey, you're like super cute, I just wanted to say hi. I I would kick myself if I didn't walk up to you and talk to you. I think that's a very, very beginner. Like, it's only if you're afraid of approaching strangers, and you get over that very quickly. But you could walk up to someone and say, "Hey, you seem cool. I wanted to see if you're as cool on the inside as you are on the outside," and then just continue the conversation. Like, that's one of the thousands of openers you could use. You could be in a grocery store and you see it's like 9 out of 10 in Whole Foods, and you're just like, "Hey, like, use an observational opener based off of what she's wearing, or like say you like her style, or maybe she's looking at a certain type of food, or you're looking for a food that she's in the vicinity of, and you can talk to her and start a conversation that way." Like, the myth that 9s and 10s are not around us in life is complete bullshit. Will you find a higher ratio of 9s and 10s in a social circle event that you set up for 9s and 10s to go to compared to regular life? Yes, because the average 9 and 10 is not going to be in a group of 9s and 10s at the grocery store or something like that. But that's why I like social circle, because you can set it up for efficiency. But I do think that cold approach is really good for building up the skills, increasing your mental strength, and just knowing that regardless of whatever environment you go into, you can get the result that you want. Like, you put me in Budapest airport and I see a girl and I'm only there for one night and I can't take her to a social circle event or anything, I'm going to try and make something to happen. Am I going to be successful 100% of the time? No. Is anyone going to be successful 100% of the time, whether you're in social circle or cold approach or whatever? No. But at least I increase my odds as much as possible by improving my skills, and I go there and I make it happen. Like, I make happen in my life what I want, rather than having to rely on anything else. And one of the issues with cold approach or social circle is that guys start to develop situational confidence. If they're during day game, maybe a day gamer might be very confident, but then you put him in a club, he's going to be very, very timid. If you take a guy who goes to clubs all the time and then you put him in a grocery store to talk to a girl, he's probably going to be timid because he's in a situation that he's not confident in. And the same thing with a guy who goes to social circle parties all the time. When you take him out of the environment where he has pre-selection, where he has social proof from other guys, when he's in a place where he feels comfortable, you take him and you put him somewhere else, like on the street in a new city that he just got there, he's probably not going to be very confident. So my whole thing with cold approach or social circle, whatever it is that you're doing, is to build up that ability to be confident regardless of where you are, just because you inherently as a man feel confident and have high self-esteem and know your worth.
So I got a comment here from the last debate, which says you won't get access to, this is perfectly aligned with what you guys have just covered in the last 10 minutes. It says you won't get access to 8s, 9s, and 10s consistently and efficiently without pre-selection and social circle. Majority of hot girls are not on dating apps, dying to give the average guy a chance. So do you have any response to that comment?
Yeah.
Well, Hamza said he does social circle. So yeah, the idea that they don't do social circle, that's not true. You know, Hamza said he does social circle also.
Yeah, and it's all about where you go. Like, you're gonna find hotter girls at Live in Miami than you would at some random dive bar, right? You're gonna find hotter girls on the dating app Raya than you would on Tinder. So it's all about maximizing your exposure. And I think social circle is a great way of maximizing your exposure. And there are also other ways you can do that too. Like Michael said too, in Brickell, Brickell is insane. When I was living in Miami, you see 9s and 10s on every corner just walking around. So if you don't want to do social circle, which I think you should, I think everyone should have a healthy social circle, unless their personality is like they're just a complete enigma. But I mean, if you want to do cold approach strictly, you go to places where the kind of women are that you want in abundance.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Quick question. So let's take let's just take like an average guy or some, whatever, just let's just take a guy and he's like maybe in his late 20s or early 30s, and he's like really trying to kind of find like a really high status, high quality partner. The basic things like all guys look for, like low body count, kind of feminine, whatever, all these things. What advice would you give this guy to try to find this like ideal, like perfect partner for him?
So I would tell him first, you got to start going to the gym. Get in the gym. That's going to increase your physical and your mental health. It's also going to increase your confidence because it shows you that you're progressing towards something and achieving a goal and taking action. And then I would have him socialize with people that are strangers. Like go out to the clubs, talk to people. When you're in your normal life, whenever you're saying something to someone, say one extra line. So like if you're saying thank you to a cashier, say thanks, have a good day, just to get used to putting yourself out of your comfort zone and interacting with people more. Because the sad thing is these days the average guy is not really socializing. Most guys these days have extremely minimal socialization, and there is actually a very big portion of people that are only socializing online. Like they're not even going out and talking to people. The maximum social exposure that they have is probably just talking to a delivery driver or someone at the store or a restaurant where they're picking something up. It's pretty messed up these days. So you got to build up the social skills as well. Then I'd have them get a photo shoot, get on dating apps, so they have a nice profile, start that to build up their Instagram, start networking with people, go to different events in your city, like use meetup.com, Eventbrite, whatever, get exposure with people, socialize more, use all the tools at your disposal in order to cast that wide net and like get more women in your life so that you can get used to that kind of stuff. And then based on their personality, create like a specific plan of how they want to lead their life going into the future.
Awesome. I got to leave here in a little bit. I got to get ready for something else. Are there any other topics you want to go over?
Okay. Well, I got a comment here, baby. Here's a comment from the last one. True high value men such as doctors, high level CEOs, and top lawyers, etc., don't have time to build a party social circle. They use dating apps. Also, being some average guy surrounded by a bunch of bikini models looks fake and try hard. So any responses to comments like this?
Yes, absolutely. I understand where your complete misinformation comes from. It takes about 2 or 3 hours a week in order to build this, and then it takes progressively less the more you do it. So, and also the majority of my clients don't have a party lifestyle, but we do show that in the marketing. And so because it gets more people's attention. So you are absolutely wrong about that. It takes about 2 to 3 hours a week in order to do it. And I will introduce you to other doctors and accountants and lawyers in the program who do this and have fantastic success. The other idea of having average looking guys taking pictures with women, again, if we go back to the mate choice copying, the specific experiments were average looking guys with women around them. Did women find them more attractive? And the answer was unequivocally yes. So again, you are incorrect. Now, there are ways to take the pictures incorrectly. Number one, what you don't want is like a touristy picture where she doesn't look like she's interested. What you want is pictures where you are showing compliance from the women in the photo. They're turned towards you, they're touching you, and they seem happy to be there. If you take photos like this and you're an average guy, there is provable, scientific data, irrefutable, that will increase the way women see you as far as attractiveness is concerned. The reason why you don't believe that is because you've never tried it. If you have tried it, you would know that is true. And it's fine. You can continue to believe it's not true, and then I'll just show you hundreds of guys who've tried it and they've had fantastic results from it.
Not to mention, your job doesn't high value. Like that's such a weird thing. Whatever.
Alrighty. Do you guys want to continue the discussion on hair pulling?
Yeah.
Oh,
when
man.
I'm alone with my girl, I'll pull her hair and her friend's hair, and maybe if we have another girl, their friend's hair. But we're alone. We're in a environment like that. So the thing is, do I think if you were attractive enough to a woman, you could go pull her hair and then that would like lead to you having sex with her? My answer is she would also have sex with you if you didn't pull her hair, and you're taking a pretty massive risk by doing that in a public environment. And even Marcus said that he wouldn't teach his clients to do that. So that's my only advice. I'm not saying that Marcus never did it and it never worked. What I'm saying is that when I deal with percentages, I have a scientifically based program, and in percentages, pulling a girl's hair who there's even the slightest possibility that she doesn't like you, if you were to do that, would end in disaster for your interaction and possibly disaster for whatever venue you happen to be in.
100% agree. That's why you wouldn't want to do it with a girl that you don't know would like it. But the whole reason why I brought up that topic was because I was explaining to, I forgot which one of Michael's students it was, but I was explaining to him how, which Michael actually just talked about earlier in this call, is women can just tell when you have abundance or not. They can tell when you get women based off of your facial expressions, your body language, like the way your shoulders are postured, all that stuff. And they can also tell through the way that you touch the girl. So like, just the example that I used with hair pulling was with guys who know how to pull a girl's hair are going to pull it in a different way than a guy who doesn't know. That's just how it works because of the dynamics of the hair pulling. Most guys will pull from the ends. They don't know how to pull it properly. But a guy who knows how to pull it will pull from the roots. So I was explaining to that student that when you're talking to a girl, you can imply pre-selection and you can show it through your behavior as well, right? It's really that simple. You don't walk up to a girl and just start pulling her hair. But a lot of the times, like when you're with a girl, touching her is going to build attraction. It's going to spike emotions, and it's going to make her want to continue talking to you, or it's going to make her feel a certain type of way. And next time when she's thinking about you, she's going to remember how you made her feel. And that's what people remember. They don't remember necessarily the exact words that you use. They remember the emotions that you made them feel. And that's just part of it, is when you're talking in a sexual way with a girl, and you do it in a calibrated way, like you can pull a girl's hair, but it's not necessarily something you'd want to teach a beginner client because he's not going to know how to calibrate, right? But that's the whole point, is it shows whether you are a guy that gets girls or not because of how you do it and when you do it. That's the difference between like advanced and someone who doesn't really know what they're doing.
In fairness, I would have found out much faster had I done it sooner that my ex-girlfriend was wearing a wig the whole time. It took me a very long time to find that one out. I was like, holy shit, you got hair under your hair? I was just not used to that. But I'm in a strange situation now because I don't think I should be doing that because my wife has brain cancer. She has had brain surgery, so it's just not worth it. But anyway, yeah. Any other things you guys want to talk about?
One thing I just want to mention with the hair pulling thing, I've had it numerous times in the day and night. I'm sure you guys have had too, where I have walked up to a girl and just started making out with her just because the vibe was just so right with it. The sub-communication was so on point. So when people look at that, it really is absolutely something you can do, but the vibe and the mirror neurons, not the energy, thank you, Michael, has to be so conducive to doing such a thing. And it's not something you really can explain. It's something you have to experience yourself that allows for such an act to happen.
Alrighty, perhaps we can wrap it up then. So for those watching, comment your thoughts below. We're going to be responding and taking note of good ideas and questions for next time. Put in your questions and let us know who you thought is the winner. That's just opinion based, but there you go. This is what debates are, really. And thanks guys for coming. If there's anything you want to say closing, then go for it.
Yeah, guys, my program is holistic. It's about the whole person. It's not just about dating. I'm about to get off here right now because we're going to do a call with Dan Bilzerian and his new program. The thing I want to bring up is that, you know, Wes Watson and I, we do stuff together. Dan Fleischman and I do stuff together. Bradley and I, Ty Lopez, all these guys that I do stuff with. I want to remind you guys that I'm teaching networking while networking. Okay. I host the 3 biggest bikini competitions in the world. I teach networking while networking. If you are a person who likes that, not do as I say, not as I do, but just do as I do. If you're one of those type of people who wants to see action, this is the course for you. It's not called the Men of Feelings or the Men of Attribution, the Men of YouTube comments. It's not the Men of the 5 love languages. It's not the Men of Trauma Release. It's not the Men of Opinions. It is the Men of Fucking Action course. And if you're one of the individuals who looks at actions above all else, then come give us a call. Come join us and we'll talk to you soon. It's moamentoring.com if you guys are interested in that. Or the easier thing to do is just find me on Instagram. And then I'll put you into the free school server and you can look at the hundreds of testimonials. There are currently 725 guys in the program. If you guys want to come and check that out, we have in the free group, there's 2,100 people in there as well. So if you guys are interested in that, come give us a call.
Ready, Hamza?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, action is what it's all about, so fucking fire. But yeah, as far as my coaching goes, I don't coach dudes anymore. I coach men on how to get their ex back, how to find a husband and have a happy relationship. So that's what I'm doing. But as far as my coaching from before, I was totally on the same page as Michael as far as building men up instead of just trying to get some pussy or dating results only. It's more about like being the best man you can be.
Alrighty. Like and subscribe, motherfuckers.
Awesome, man. I'll talk to you guys soon, man. Hit me up on IG. I'll talk to you soon. Good talking to you, Hamza. Take care, guys.
Nice talking to you. Peace.